Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button right now. And Broncos Country, I promise you, today's video is going to make that subscribe button feel real good to hit because we are covering two stories that on the surface look completely unrelated. But by the time I am done connecting these dots for you, you are going to understand exactly why Denver Broncos fans should be feeling like the luckiest fan base in the entire AFC West right now. One story is about desperation. One story is about disaster. And somehow, when you put them side by side, they both point to the exact same conclusion. This division is Denver's to take if Sean Payton just makes one phone call. Let's start with the desperation because Broncos Country, we have to be honest with ourselves. This quarterback room is a 5-alarm fire, and it took one embarrassing stat line to prove it beyond any doubt. Adam Troutman, our tight end, led the entire tight end room in production this past week with one catch for 4 yards. One catch, 4 yards. Read that again and let it marinate because that is not a typo. That is the current state of pass catching behind our starter. And if that does not tell you everything you need to know about why this offense needs a jolt of experience and versatility, I do not know what will. So here's the case, and I am going to make it loud and clear. Sean Payton needs to pick up the phone and find out exactly what it takes to bring Taysom Hill to Denver, not as a backup quarterback in the traditional sense, as a Swiss Army knife who can single-handedly fix 3 different problem areas on this roster at once. Let's talk about who this man actually is because the resume speaks for itself. 6'2", 221 pounds, 9 seasons deep into an NFL career built entirely on doing whatever a team needs him to do. Yes, he is 36 years old. Yes, that number makes some fans nervous, but he is 2 full years removed from a serious knee injury now, and Sean Payton himself has said publicly that it takes a full 2 years to come back from that kind of injury and be running at full speed again. That timeline lines up perfectly. And do not think for 1 second this connection is some fantasy matchup I dreamed up. Sean Payton and Taysom Hill were literally seen together at Drew Brees' Hall of Fame induction ceremony. These two have history. These two have trust. And trust is exactly what this Broncos quarterback room is desperately missing right now. Because let's be real, Broncos Country, we absolutely cannot be in a position where Jarrett Stidham is our only safety net if something happens to Bo Nix. God forbid another injury strikes this offense. We need a plan B that does not make every fan base collectively hold their breath. And here is a stat that should stop you in your tracks. Taysom Hill is 7-2 as a career starting quarterback. I know quarterback wins is not the sexiest stat in football. I know it is flawed. But there is something to be said for a guy who simply knows how to win football games and does not give them away in the fourth quarter. Some players just have that gene. And production-wise, he has thrown for almost 2,400 passing yards in his career, playing quarterback essentially part-time while also being one of the most versatile utility weapons the league has ever seen. Compare that to Jarrett Stidham, who has thrown for around 400 passing yards in his regular season career. Maybe tack on another 150 from that unforgettable snow game in the AFC Championship, and you realize something wild. Taysom Hill, a supposed backup tight end and gadget player, is a more experienced regular season passer than our actual backup quarterback. Sit with that one for a second. And look, Broncos Country, we kind of did this to ourselves. I think Sean Payton has held on to this current quarterback room a little too long, hoping familiarity would be enough. And when you look around the league right now at preseason quarterback play, it stings even more. Undrafted and late-round arms are lighting it up everywhere except here. Take Haynes King, a guy I personally wanted the Broncos to draft so badly this year, sitting at 62% completion with 2 touchdowns and rushing production to boot in the preseason. Take Joey Aguilar out of Tennessee, completing an absurd 90% of his passes, 10 of 11 for 173 yards and a touchdown. And take Joe Milton, a 6th-round pick who is finally putting it together, 21 of 28 for 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 10 yards per attempt, 286 passing yards this preseason. This is a guy who has been quietly developing for a few seasons and is now showing exactly why patience with young arms can pay off. Meanwhile, we chose to build our depth around names that simply have not earned the fan base's trust yet. And honestly, I wonder if their own teammates fully believe they can go win football games with those guys behind center. That is not for me to answer. That is a locker room conversation, but it is a fair question hanging over this entire quarterback room. So here is where I land. If we are not going out and adding one of these hungry young arms making noise around the league, then bringing in a guy who is already fluent in Sean Payton's system, who essentially walks in half out of retirement already speaking the language, makes a ton of sense. And Taysom Hill is not just an arm Broncos Country. This man will do anything you ask of him. Special teams, sure. Fullback and tight end production to fix that embarrassing one catch for 4 yards problem, absolutely. Short yardage rushing to keep Bo Nix from absorbing unnecessary hits near the goal line, no question. And when called upon, he can line up and run the entire offense himself. He is not a luxury. At this point, he might be a necessity. Now, before we keep rolling, quick word from our sponsor, because this video is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you have not tried it yet, go download the app right now and use code HMA when you sign up. Play just $5, and if you win, you walk away with $150 in bonus lineups. I play this myself every single week during Broncos games, and right now I am riding a 3-pick power play, hitting the over on some season-long totals. I have got Matthew Stafford going over on his passing total. I have got Bo Nix going over on his season total because I genuinely believe this man is about to break out in a massive way. And I have got Jalen Waddle going over on his receiving total as well. Use code HMA, get your bonus lineups, and let's make this season even more fun together. All right, Broncos Country, now let's pivot because this is where things get spicy, and I need you to understand why this second story matters just as much as the quarterback conversation we just had. The entire AFC West just got a whole lot easier for the Denver Broncos, and it happened almost overnight. The Los Angeles Chargers are unraveling right in front of our eyes, and I cannot wait for Monday when every single analyst who confidently picked the Chargers to win this division has to sit there and explain themselves. Colin Cowherd has the Chargers finishing first in the AFC West, followed by the Chiefs, with the Broncos coming in dead last at number 3. ESPN has basically the same take: Chiefs first, Chargers second, Broncos trailing way behind both of them. Broncos Country, that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That is not a prediction, that is a fantasy. Here is why. Going into this offseason, the Chargers were sitting on more cap space than almost any team in professional football, right up there near the very top of the league, only trailing the Patriots by a relatively small margin. $100 million in cap space, and they poured the bulk of it into one single player, their new starting center. This was the marquee free agent move that was supposed to fix the interior of that offensive line and finally protect Justin Herbert, a quarterback who was hit an absolutely brutal 129 times last season. He had broken fingers. He was seeing ghosts by the end of the playoffs. And after finally investing real money to fix the problem, we got the news today, officially confirmed that the Chargers will be without their prized new center for the entire season. Gone. Done. Season over before it even started. Now look, I am not doing a victory lap here because nobody wants to see a player go down with a serious injury, but Broncos Country, we have to call this exactly what it is. This was entirely preventable, and it fits a pattern that Chargers fans have watched play out for years. You go back to their star free agent signing from last season, a massive contract for their offensive tackle, and he goes down with a season-ending injury almost immediately after signing that mega deal. You go back further to 2018 and you see the exact same story playing out with their tight end. This is not bad luck happening once. This is a pattern, and when you see a pattern repeat itself over and over again in professional sports, it is rarely just a coincidence. There is almost always a design flaw behind the scenes, a system failure in how a team prepares and protects its players, and that is exactly why this contrast matters so much for us Broncos Country. Nobody in this league invests more in player health and availability than Sean Payton and this Walton Penner ownership group. Sleep studies, biometric tracking, technology poached directly from a championship-level organization outside of football just to help maximize recovery and durability. Sean Payton talks about this constantly, and I know it bores some fans, but here is the proof in the pudding. He inherited one of the most injury-riddled rosters in the entire league, and within 3 years turned this team into one of the healthiest rosters in professional football. Meanwhile, the Chargers go out, sign a center who had literally never missed a game in his career due to injury, and he is done for the season within months of putting on the uniform. That is not bad luck, Broncos Country. That is culture. So now the Chargers are staring down a nightmare. Best case scenario, their star tackle actually comes back healthy, but we have not seen him in a single preseason game or joint practice, and there is real reason to doubt he is ready. Which means you are talking about potentially the worst interior offensive line combination in all of football, propped up by 2 serviceable but unspectacular tackles on the outside. Their new starting center is a rookie, a second-round pick, who looks like a serious athlete but is about to get thrown into the fire immediately. And right next to him at guard is a former high draft pick who, according to grading services, ranked as one of the worst starting guards in the entire league last season. With only a handful of qualifying guards graded worse than him, that is who the Chargers are trusting to protect Justin Herbert's blind side on the interior. In their most recent preseason outing, Herbert barely played, got popped almost immediately, and was pulled after just 2 pass attempts because the coaching staff clearly did not like what they were seeing. And it was not just the passing game falling apart. Their run game could not find a single crease either, with their most hyped young running back barely scraping together a rushing average north of 1.5 yards per carry. Their leading rusher on the night was literally a backup quarterback scrambling for his life. Special teams looked shaky too, giving up a big return in that same game. And here is the kicker, Broncos country, the part that should make every single one of us smile. It is not like the Chargers can just lean on a monster receiving core to bail out a shaky offensive line. Their best true pass catcher is a solid but unspectacular slot option, and honestly, I would take our own Pat Bryant's ceiling over that player's ceiling any day of the week. This is not a team that went out and got a true Jalen Waddle caliber game-breaking weapon to make up for offensive line problems. This is a team that spent all its money in one place, watched it collapse in a matter of months, and now has almost no answer left on either side of the football. Add in the fact that the Chargers are getting absolutely hammered by this year's NFL schedule makers, sitting with one of the worst rest differentials in the entire league, meaning game after game, they will be facing opponents who had more time to recover, while the Chargers are stepping off a longer flight with less rest. If I were a Chargers fan right now, I would be furious. Furious about the injuries, furious about the wasted cap space, and furious about the fact that this same core group has never won a single playoff game with their franchise quarterback, while our guy Bo Nix got it done in year number 2. So Broncos country, when you step back and look at the full picture, you start to see why these two stories connect so perfectly. On one hand, we have a Broncos team that knows exactly what it is missing at quarterback and has a realistic, proven, culturally aligned answer sitting right there in Taysom Hill, a move that would instantly patch multiple holes on this roster at once. On the other hand, we have a supposed division rival that spent a fortune trying to fix its biggest weakness and watch that fix collapse before the season even started, continuing a pattern of self-inflicted disaster that stretches back years. This is exactly the kind of gap that championship windows are built on. It is not always about who has the flashiest offseason. Sometimes it is about who builds sustainable structure and who keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. One more thing before we wrap up Broncos country, because I know a lot of you are already thinking ahead to the Minnesota Vikings preseason matchup coming up on Friday night, and there has been a lot of debate about whether Sean Payton lets his starters play extended snaps. Given his comments after the disappointing showing against Green Bay, where he made it clear he wants his players getting reps into the third quarter, and given the growing body of evidence around the league that extended preseason work actually helps prevent injuries rather than cause them, I am predicting we do see meaningful snaps from our starters against Minnesota. And honestly, I would love to see Bo Nix get a real look at a genuinely stout Vikings starting defense before he has to walk into Arrowhead against the Chiefs. That kind of live test could be exactly what this offense needs heading into the regular season. If you want to catch these games in person and feel this AFC West power shift with your own eyes, head over to SeatGeek and use code CHAT10 for 10% off your tickets, because trust me, watching this division unfold in real time is going to be must-see football. So let me know in the comments, Broncos country, are you on board with Sean Payton picking up the phone for Taysom Hill? Or do you think this quarterback room figures itself out on its own? And after everything we just broke down with the Chargers, do you believe there is any realistic path where they finish ahead of Denver in this division? Because from where I am sitting, the ball does not lie, and right now every signal points toward this being Denver's division to lose. If this video opened your eyes today, smash that like button, drop your take in the comments, and if you are not already part of this community, hit that subscribe button right now. We are chasing 1,000 subscribers together, and once we get there, one lucky subscriber is walking away with a Jalen Waddle jersey on me. Broncos country, stick around, because this season is about to get very, very interesting.